Cooper Kupp will play. Should we trust him? The Baltimore wide receiver core, ay Dios mío. Who's going to play? Any of them. Deonta Foreman isn't likely to play. Can we trust any running backs in that Chicago backfield? And a certain wide receiver from Arizona may play, may not play. What are we going to do about it? Well, I know what you're going to be doing right now is you're going to be watching the best injury podcast. It's the Injury Prone Podcast. Welcome back. Welcome back. Day after Thanksgiving. Hopefully we're helping you wake up and get better, done with the tryptophan. I'm Jorge Martin. You can find me at Jorge Martin 17. You can find all my work at Yahoo Fantasy and also familiaffb.com. But also, I'm gonna welcome in straight out of Florida, mi amigo, mi compadre. Bienvenido, Edwin, Dr. Edwin Porras. Happy Thanksgiving day after. Happy Black Friday.
Happy Black Friday, man. Right now, we were just saying before we hit record, hopefully there's no injuries that happen during this game. Otherwise, we're going to be recording them and talking about them. But other than that, I'm happy to have you here. I know you were having a good time yesterday. So, I know that you're just rolling out of bed, hungover. And you know how it goes. When you turn 21, I understand you had to celebrate that. So I'm excited, compadre. I'm excited to talk about some of these players here. It's not really a long list of players necessarily, but just a couple of key scenarios here and there. So yeah, man, I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, unos jugadores muy claves, but also want to make sure you're following us on YouTube in the Injury Prone Podcast on YouTube. Hit us a like, hit a subscribe, throw a comment in the chat. We'll make sure to answer it. And also make sure you're joining the injuryprone.com. I'm sorry, the patreon.com/injuryprone. Get in the Patreon. You get so many email alerts during the week with so much actionable information that you're going to get right off the bat. So straight from El Hombre himself. And, he's also going to be answering your questions directly. So get in there. So, mi amigo, yeah, you know what? So quick injury news section. So just to kind of talk about some players, give some updates on some players. Dallas Goedert still has not been added to the IR. I mean, the Monday Night Football game, it didn't end up being an issue for them down there in your old stomping grounds. Justin Jefferson, he doesn't care about our fantasy teams apparently, but he will likely return in week 14. I want to hear your thoughts on that one. And Derek Carr, he cleared the concussion protocol and will play. So of these players, can you give us a quick update, especially giving us a little bit of focus on Justin Jefferson, who has been in a little bit of the news for not playing?
Yeah, Justin Jefferson, it looks like he'll be activated in week 14 because of the bye week. The bye weeks don't count towards their weeks or games of absences. That's why they were able to push him back. They, I think, are doing this the right way. It's not something that we want, necessarily as fantasy players, but they are taking their time with Justin Jefferson. They're really going to make sure that he is right. I mean, he's going to be more than 2 months removed from the injury after he comes back. That should be more than ample time for him to come back, get right, and play. I don't expect them not to activate him unless something unforeseen happens. Dallas Goedert, we sort of mentioned him last week. They officially did not place him on IR, which means they think he's got a legitimate shot to be back by the time week 13 rolls around, even if it's on a limited basis. So that's something to consider for your Devontae Smith sort of stonks that we talked about last week. That might not be it might not be something that persists, but it could be, especially if Dallas Goedert comes back and has a bulky brace on his arm and he's really just out there for, as a decoy. This could still, lead to an uptick in targets for Devontae Smith. So really those are the three guys that we're really watching here. And Derek Carr cleared protocol, which I wrote in my article for Fantasy Points, is fortunately, because this is the primary thing that matters. Good thing for Derek Carr, he cleared concussion protocol. Bad thing for fantasy managers, Derek Carr clears concussion protocols. I know you were looking forward to, some bombs from Jameis, some Jameis time bombs, which I would really love to see. I would just love to see Jameis out there chucking crossbody, crossfield from their own goal line type of, balls up to Chris Olave, but we're probably not going to see that. So that's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. I mean, especially, but the thing about it is, it's hard to figure out which receiver to really prioritize. Carr has connected with Rashid Shaheed on some long balls. he and Chris Olave just have not meshed to the point where where you feel good. Anybody feels good about spending a second round pick on Chris Olave. A.T. Perry's got to keep an eye on, though. I keep saying he had that big catch on that touchdown from Jameis Winston last week, and Michael Thomas is out, so maybe some of those targets are going to come his way. So that's tough. It's tough. On the Jefferson side, I mean, how isn't it important that guys, maybe he's setting an example for guys not to really rush back and make sure they're healthy, 100% healthy from these kind of injuries?
They are. I think that I don't think that's what he's going for necessarily. I just think that that's what the specific situation called for. It must have been a significant injury for them to really hold him out. It wasn't probably quite like something that he tore his bone off the hamstring or anything, but there are some injuries where it just takes a while for them to get back. He's been practicing, which is really what's important and what's key here. But I do think that some superstars could look across the league and say, hey, look, if teams are able to stay afloat the way that the Vikings have been able to stay afloat miraculously, then maybe guys will start sort of taking their time. And you saw that with Cooper Kupp anyway, right? He took the month, 5 weeks off, the first 5 weeks of the season. He was on injured reserve. So you'll see that these guys will take time every now and then, but it just depends if the team thinks that they can stay afloat in the meantime.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they've definitely gotten a bit of a shot from Josh Dobbs, and Jordan Addison has kind of found his feet in the NFL at that point. I mean, it's going to be a different offense that they come into. So I think it's going to be crazy as it may sound. I mean, they were when they were I think 1-5 at one point, and now they're in the playoff race. So yes, definite resurrection. So yeah, not quite Lazarus style, but they're back. They're back. All right, so we're going to talk about a few players that got ruled out as of Friday afternoon. So we're recording this during the opening of the Miami Dolphins and New York Jets. Devon Achane, as we love to call him, out. He's not playing today. His knee is out. Michael Wilson has been declared out. He was a player that really was starting to get some fantasy hype around him, but injuries were an issue coming into the league. And as Edwin loves to talk about, injury history is one of the telltale signs. T. Higgins out. And Noah Brown is still doubtful. I know we want people to go to the Patreon, patreon.com/injury prone, but anything about the players you want to add real quick, or a quick tease to go to the Patreon?
Yeah. So I talk a little bit about Devon Achane in the Patreon and sort of what to expect and some timelines. I actually posted that a couple of weeks ago. So really what you'll find with the Patreon, I guess I'll just use this opportunity to plug it. A lot of the times, we are a couple of weeks ahead. Would you say, Jorge? It's either a week or two ahead of what the news actually is. Like, we get a pretty decent projection. My goal this offseason is to go back and sort of see how accurately and how quickly we were able to get sort of our analysis out. But for example, last week I did send out for all the guys that were injured, for Gino, for Kenneth Walker, for Devon Achane, for Aaron Jones. That Sunday we put out, hey, this is going to be the situation, and I think we nailed all of them. So again, if you want more on all these guys moving forward, head to the Patreon. But I don't have anything necessarily new to add here.
Yeah, and in the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of hits on there, and so a lot of great information. I think that Jamar Chase was a big one. I mean, when there was questions about the back, that was definitely a big one. He delivered for DFS, and really just last weekend, a lot of guys came through. So yeah, you know what? That's why I love working with Edwin, because he knows what he's talking about. So I knew that a long time ago, know it even more now. So nuestra gente. So we're gonna get into the main event. So we let off this whole episode with him. Cooper Kupp. He's declared healthy. He's gonna play. This is the same ankle that he had the surgery on in the off season. So level of concern, could he be somewhat of a decoy and not really see a full route tree, and maybe he's just running some cardio out there?
I don't think that's going to be necessarily the case with Cooper Kupp. When you see these guys, I think the primary issue that really was hurting Cooper Kupp at that time was the fact that he rolled it and he got cleated, right? He had like 300 pounds landing. I think it was actual physical impact onto his foot. That was something that it's really hard you can't just, there's nothing you really do about that. There's no way you can really treat it. I mean, you can pop whatever over the counter medication and you can't really inject it because it's a superficial wound. It's not going to help you. So there's nothing you can really do in that moment when you get stepped on by a 300-pound lineman. And that's exactly what happened to Cooper Kupp. I think that's, again, a major reason why he didn't come back. He did go into that sort of inversion. So that inversion lateral low ankle sprain that we call it. What you see with these sort of foot and ankle injuries with wide receivers is that they do miss less than a game. So that is really tracking with Cooper Kupp. The primary issue you really look at for Cooper Kupp and his production is there is about a 9% hit in their average fantasy points, but they do see a 22% hit in their median fantasy points. So in other words, they hit about 78% of their median fantasy points for the season. In other words, they have a little bit of a lower floor, and their ceiling is capped. But if you consider what is the ceiling for Cooper Kupp, what is the floor for Cooper Kupp, I mean, that's still a top 10 wide receiver. So I wouldn't worry too much. There's a 20% weekly recurrence rate. Again, I wouldn't lean too heavily into that. This is a very similar conversation that we had, like you said, a couple of weeks ago with Jamar Chase. Like, you don't fade guys like Cooper Kupp. You don't fade guys like Jamar Chase. So they tend to really, in general, they still run their same amount of target. Targets per route is the same. Their targets per game is the same. So, you look at their stud rate, it's still 40%. Their stud rate is, of course, when they score 150% or more of their their average fantasy points. Guys coming off an ankle sprain, it's 40% of them still hit that. So no reason to fade Cooper Kupp. I wouldn't necessarily be too concerned. But I don't know what you make of that. You are muted, my friend.
And it's also a fantastic matchup. I mean, they're going against they're going against the Arizona Cardinals. That's one of the weakest secondaries in the NFL. You don't want, you don't want to see Cooper Kupp on your bench and then he goes off for 150 and 2 touchdowns. So it's because you were afraid. Yeah, because what is it? What is it? Something you told me a while ago? Scared money don't make money. So don't be. I think you don't be afraid. I mean, Cooper Kupp is a veteran. He knows how to take care of himself. He knows, if even if he's 90-95%, you don't want to, you still want that over 100% of what, almost every other receiver out there. So, you get him in your line. Plus Puka Nacua has also been, dealing with a little bit of a shoulder stuff too. So maybe he's limited. And so maybe the two of them could, end up boosting one another up. But yeah. Great matchup. Want to know about the Baltimore wide receivers? It feels like they're a mash unit. So many guys. Zay Flowers. I mean, the OBJ. I mean, what is the kind of like the health outlook for these guys, and then we could kind of talk about how we would attack them.
Yeah, so the first guy that you're looking at, OBJ, he himself has called himself a game time decision. I will say that he probably will play through this. I get the feel he'll play through this. He's been dealing with a shoulder injury since week 8. He did the post-game press conference when he injured it just fine. Most of these guys can bounce back. These receivers can bounce back from this. He's at a slight increased risk for re-injury, but I wouldn't necessarily worry about that. The other thing, Zay Flowers did return to practice, and he did say in an interview he does plan on playing. I do think this does slightly open the door for Isaiah Likely, though, based on game planning, based on what they feel from an availability standpoint in deeper leagues, and maybe in some tournament plays. I know that the hot thing has been to say Isaiah Likely has had 1 target or whatever since playing without Mark Andrews. But I do think that the injury to Zay Jones, I do think that the injury to did I say Zay Jones? Zay Flowers. The injury to Mark Andrews, obviously, and then OBJ also being battered is going to open the door for guys like Isaiah Likely or guys like even Rashad Bateman. I've been keeping that candle lit for Rashad Bateman. He's slowly been making progress this year, so I'm going to keep the candle on. Maybe this is a Rashad Bateman week in deeper leagues.
I do have him. I do have him in a league where I really need him. I have him in the lineup just for that very reason. The other thing to consider about Isaiah Likely, the Chargers are one of the worst defenses when it comes to defending the tight end. So I mean, maybe because that one target that he got that 1 week. At the beginning of the season, I mean, the one reception that he got in the first game, I forget who they were playing, but I mean, maybe they were just better against the tight end. But and last week, the things are just thrown off. When you got someone like Andrews going out of the game, so you almost throw that game out. But yeah, I mean, I picked up Isaiah Likely in a couple of leagues just in case. But yeah, I mean, the matchup could not be better for him. So next player that we're going to talk about is actually Deonta Foreman, but it's kind of like, he came through with a high ankle sprain, and what is believed to be a high ankle sprain. I don't know. Has it been officially made called a high ankle?
Well, not officially, but the video is pretty obvious as high ankle sprain.
So that's, I mean, it looks like he's not going to play. So that's kind of first, I'll let you do the injury prognosis, and then we could talk about Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson.
No, really, that's what it comes down to. Is it's a high ankle sprain. He's not likely to play at this point. When you look at the splits between Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert after, in the second half after Deonta Foreman left, what you see is that for Khalil Herbert, he played more than 50% of the snaps and saw 46% of the team running back touches. So I don't know, not necessarily a soft landing spot, but and we don't have to spend a ton of time on this one in particular, but maybe a deeper play, at least for me, is Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, the thing about them, you're not expecting a lot from them on the ground. The Minnesota Vikings are one of the better teams against the run on this season. So they're Khalil Herbert is a dual threat back. He does catch balls out of the backfield, and so does Roschon Johnson. So it's almost like a coin flip between the two of them. Would be the play if you really need to play somebody. But yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. All right, mi amigo. Certain Arizona wide receiver may not play. What are we going to do about it?
Right. So we're seeing that Marquise Brown is having a heel issue. I'm not sure if it's the same side where he's had the Lisfranc in the past and the recurrence of the Lisfranc, but it could be the same foot. He was limited and then didn't practice yesterday. I haven't seen any reports on him today. So I still think that this could be something that limited him last week. And so what we saw is that opened the door for Greg Dortch. When you look at a guy like Greg Dortch, you don't expect fantasy production, but I do think that a deeper play could be Greg Dortch this week. Last week, he and Trey McBride were tied for 23% of the team target share. So I think with Dortch, or I'm sorry, with Marquise Brown, even if he plays, I do think that still opens the door. You're still starting Trey McBride, but I do think that this Greg Dortch stuff, I don't think it was a fluke. He also was, ran around on 80% of team dropbacks. So Greg Dortch season, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Rondale Moore, he caught the long touchdown, but that was his only target on the game. So, I mean, and Dortch, he seems to get peppered with targets. I mean, I remember also last year in the early part of the season, before when Marquise Brown went out, Dortch got fed, Dortch got fed dramatically, and that was with Kyler Murray. So definitely something to keep in mind. I mean, Dortch, maybe it's because they're similar height, so that they like each other. So that's what it is. So, but no, seriously, I mean, just follow the production there. But definitely, nuestra gente, amigos, amigas, you're not fading Trey McBride in any way, shape, or form. I mean, he could get like a Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews type of workload. I mean, yeah, the targets could just be flying at him because he has really taken a step forward. So we definitely want to keep an eye on what happens with Marquise Brown, and maybe do some last minute pickups right before the start. So, all right, tell me, amigo. So we want to tell everybody, for more on guys like Devon Achane, Justin Jefferson, Odell Beckham Jr., Pat Freiermuth, so many more. You want to make sure you're going to the Patreon, okay? Patreon.com/injuryprone. You're going to get the latest and greatest updates up to the minute on Sunday morning. So yes, get in there. So mi amigo, we didn't tee up Cultura class before. So if you don't have some, I've got a Thanksgiving related idea that I could throw at you.
Go for it.
So Thanksgiving being a very, very American holiday. And with me, my abuelito and abuelita, thankfully they really embraced the holiday since we were kids. So had a lot of traditional foods. Do you have a favorite traditional food and maybe something Latino flavored, that Mexican flavored, that got added to the mix?
Yeah, my brother and I really Americanized my Mexican parents, who had no idea what Thanksgiving was when they came. So we taught them the turkey, we taught them the mashed potatoes, we taught them the pumpkin pie, right? So they didn't ever really have a preference necessarily. But as we got older, I wish that I would have asked for more pozole, for more menudo, for more tamales, because that's what we do for Christmas. So I mean, my wife and I had tacos yesterday. Thanksgiving's a complicated topic, Jorge. We don't need to get into it, but I always feel like we're celebrating a holiday where people came over and ravaged the Native Americans. I don't like to celebrate that, so I view it more so as, hey, let's read a little bit about Native American culture and history, and let's just eat and have good food. So yesterday, Holly and I and my wife, we went out and got some tacos. We got some frijoles, some rice. That's how we celebrated it. I think that's going to be our tradition moving forward, because we've tended to be pretty non-traditional anyway. Dude, just getting some carne asada, some burritos de carne asada, some barbacoa, and just sort of slamming that stuff with some tequila, chasing it with some tequila.
Oh, that just sounds so good. That sounds so good. I mean, you know what? Yeah, I'm trying to think of what yesterday. Well, my mom definitely did. Definitely, my mama, she made the mashed potatoes, and but she also one of the staples, the Mexican rice. So yeah, just cannot have any holiday without there. Yeah, and one of the things that we always have, we didn't have the big Mexican Thanksgiving that we're saying. My sister wanted to do it. Shout out to my sister Dora and her husband Joe, and my nephews Evan and Robbie. But yeah, we wanted to make sure that we had something that we had more intimate one. And the big familia get together, I mean, there's arroz, there's frijoles, there's carne asada, there's everything. Especially when the weather is a little bit on the nicer side and it's not, there could be some grilling. We actually had a deep fried turkey yesterday, which was a lot of fun. Was a lot of fun. So yeah, muy bueno, muy bueno. Yeah, and turkey tacos afterward is clutch. So
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, and 1 year my mom made turkey mole, which was just
That sounds fire.
Oh man,
Sounds
that
fire.
was turkey mole is just with the leftovers is just phenomenal with a big old turkey leg. So enjoy. Well, compa, let's close up shop. We got a somewhat quick one today. What do we want to keep on? What do we want to keep on the lookout for the weekend?
Oh man, I'm just go to Yahoo, check out Jorge's work. Go to fantasypoints.com, check out my work. That's really all I got.
All right. Amigos, amigas, buena suerte in all your lineups. Get in, make sure you're getting into the Patreon. Hey, I don't know what else. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Enjoy the long weekend. Enjoy family. Enjoy food. Football. A lot of football coming Sunday, Monday. Buena suerte. Salud.